are you depressed about mistakes that you have made or that you are making? And she said, well, had made, right? Had
Yeah.
made. Like, I'm not currently doing anything except for building myself from this position, but I'm punishing myself for having not done this sooner.
Hey guys, my name is Katie Enterkin, and I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to unveil what I like to call the beautiful beast that already lives inside us all. And welcome to the podcast about everything and a little bit of nothing. I've had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora, I love big words, a myriad of experiences just being a human and existing. These are real conversations with real people, getting to know each other, sharing stories that make us cry, and occasionally pee our pants with laughter. We talk about all kinds of life stuff: parenthood, business, life goals, fitness, chasing your dreams, and yes, even some animal noises are involved. For more information, keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Unveiling the Beast podcast. You guys, for all of my personal development junkies out there, get your freaking hearts ready and your notebooks ready, because this episode is a conversation with Coach Tanisha Renee Bouchelion, and she is on fire, but like in the good way, of course, not like actually on fire, like flames and stuff. We talked about how we as coaches tend to pursue our businesses with a vision in mind of what it's going to look like. But as we listen to the people who follow us or look up to us, and as we listen to our clients, it slowly evolves into filling needs that we didn't even know were there, rather than trying to teach them what we want to teach them. It's kind of like this beautiful and gentle and loving tug of war between what I think you should know and what you actually want to know. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? And the amazing part about coaching is that you already have the answers inside of you. My job is to help you find them and dig them out. My job is to help you unveil the beautiful beast within you. So, as always, I hope something lands with you today. I hope something you hear tugs on your heartstrings, and or I hope you laugh.
I think blackmail podcast. No, this is great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tanisha Renee Bouchelion. How are you today?
I am here and alive and breathing. Short
That's
talk
good.
for I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm well. I'm good. I had a good day.
That's good. That's good. So, okay, I have a confession.
Okay. Whenever
we text or you call, I go, oh my gosh, it's Renee.
My best friend Dana calls me that, and I call her Renee. I'm going to have to tell her that. She's going to be so thrilled.
It's Renee. So, Tanisha Renee, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Okay. Well, I am, where do I start? I am fabulous.
Yeah, you are.
That's a good start. I was, let's see. So I am a mom. I have an 18-year-old daughter and I have an 8-year-old son. I'm a wife. So that's what my family life is like. I sometimes mix my words up. And I think that about sums me up. No. Yeah, I started this coaching. And this is how, I met you. So that's a good place to start. I was in Sean Smith's Foundations of Marketing class. I met Sean in 2016. And then by the end of 2018, I started a course, Foundations of Marketing, to sort of figure out what I'm going to do to push my business forward, my coaching business, as far as getting it out there, selling it, And that's where I'm at now. My background is sales and marketing, which is interesting, that I feel more prepared to coach than I feel to sell and market my coaching business, even though that's where my expertise lies. So that's me.
That's good. And that's the exact conversation that we had today, was the selling aspect of it. Like, we're so afraid to sell to people. And I think one thing that stuck out, ladies and gentlemen, we had a meeting today with the big guy. One of the things that stuck out was if you have the ability to help change somebody's life, you're enough.
Yeah.
We're always in that mindset of I'm not enough, and that's why I haven't started yet. So
yes. Oof. What's registering for me is that I am slowly like I'm intermittently working on my daily reminders and keeping myself in the headspace that I'm actually now going to just intentionally set how I start my day, almost like a routine. Nothing big, but a routine to start my day. Because when I get up and attend to, like, my daughter had court this morning, so it was, my son had to be taken to school. So it was like, get up, do this, then do that. Remember to go get this paper for her. I can arrange it like that. And those are my first thoughts. And like a domino effect, my day has been, oh, now do this, now do that. Right.
Yeah.
And I did remember to join the Foundations of Marketing call, which only I remember because I'm like, me and Katie are talking after the Foundations of Marketing call. So let me keep checking on my email to find out when the Foundation of Marketing call. But I would usually also miss things that are important to me from having that gotta do mind space as well. So yeah, today I remembered the call and I decided that I'm going to start to set my day with the mind space about how I am enough and why I'm doing this. My why is what gets lost in the what. Do this, do that, do that. And why?
Yeah.
Right? So to make room, make time, make intentional space for me to focus on what I really want, which is to focus on my business. So when I just go, what to do all day, I'm not remembering the why. And that's what I'm going to start setting my day with, is my why is the first thing for my day.
Yeah, because the why is the whole reason we're here in the first place, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
so can I ask you, you know, different coaches have, I guess I'll call it specialties and different things. What is yours? Like, what do you focus on in your coaching? Is it all aspects of life, or do you have a particular specialty?
You know,
with people?
for me, the conversations that I've been having tend to surround a lot about relationships as first parenting, boyfriend, girlfriend, whether they're breaking up or not, or husband and wife, different things like that. Also, relationships as far as with your own parents, or, you know, traumatic. It's not just a traumatic event, it's usually the relationships. And I'm finding that most of the conversations I have surround by that. I didn't intend to specialize in that because I think as coaches, I'm not alone in this, but like if we're struggling with a specific scenario in our life, we're like, I don't need to be the coach for that, or I need to fix this first and then do that. And I've kind of been pigeonholing myself as not a relationship coach. And when we say relationships, we usually mean spousal, but I just mean
in general,
any type of personal relationship. Yes, the ones that matter. And I feel like I'm good at helping people realize their blocks, their own personal accountability in that, and sort of helping them work through what they really want. I'm finding that I'm good at that.
Awesome.
What about you?
Me? I am focusing on, I recently had an aha moment, because, you know, I'm into fitness and I'm kind of intertwining everything together that way. But my aha moment was when I discovered the book Intuitive Eating. And I feel like that's the missing piece that I've been missing. The missing piece I've been missing.
That I've been missing.
Because, you know, you've heard me say before, like, we all know what to do. We all know that you have to eat right and exercise, but why aren't we doing it? Like there's got to be something. And then intuitive eating kind of goes into the whole diet industry and diet culture, and how I think it's a 60-70 billion dollar industry a year that has been brainwashing us for starting in the 50s, I think. And basically every diet you go on gives you a new set of rules that you tend to stick to even when you're not dieting.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole, it's so much more than that. It's a big, thick ass book. But it's kind of the missing piece that I've been looking for. Like just, and this is for people who've been stuck in the dieting. I know there's people out there that can just eat normally and be fine. And yeah, so
Yeah.
and I think I'm going to coach people on how to make peace with food. While simultaneously, training them in my garage for mental strength as well as physical strength. And never with the sole purpose of losing weight, because people are way too focused on that number.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I said that out loud.
How does that feel?
Thank you. That feels great. Because it's been brewing in my head since I started reading the book, and like, oh my gosh, this is already changing my life. How am I going to help other people change their lives? So I think that's the first time I've ever like spilled it out and just vomited all over you.
Yes. Vomit on me.
Thank you.
Man, yeah. It's interesting because like for coaching, I started off thinking that I was more like trauma, like, childhood, past trauma, things like that, which relationships have a lot of that in it, like past hurt. And I feel like because the more I heal those things that I have, the more I'm reaching for the next challenge. So it's almost like, I don't want to say that I've outgrown that at all, but it's interesting how as I grow and change, what I'm interested in working on changes, and what I'm attracting, from different people and what they're dealing with, it changes with that. Like it kind of matches. So it's very interesting. I haven't had any childhood trauma talks with anybody since I was dealing with that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And now I'm having more relationship talks. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Because I remember
that's where I started
last year.
And it's important because it still is, for me, it was the starting point. And for a lot of people, it is the meta programs like we're talking about. It's your values, because those were built when you were younger, right? It's all these different things under the iceberg, so to speak. And a lot of those things are formed from that time and only built upon. So we do need to drill down somewhat. So to give, I think, people who've been in the work, who've done the work a lot, who are avid readers and chasing all the coaching that they can find, they're in a different space than people who are feeling hopeless or don't understand even where to begin.
Yeah.
And so I do still find that is my target. I don't even know where to begin. So, but the conversations that are bubbling for them now are generally relationship based. And I still feel like I would take it back there, but I'm not coming at it like, do you want to heal childhood trauma? Like.
Yeah. Yeah, like we have to show up for our people in the way they need us to show up for them. Like, there's things that we want to teach, we want people to know this. We want people to know about nutrition and fitness. We want people to know how they can heal abusive relationships with an ex-husband or whatever. But if that's not what people are asking for, then we need to be giving them what they want and what they actually need. With that and with that other experience in the backs of our heads. Did I say that right? Backs of our heads, back of our head, whatever.
We have one back to each head. I don't know. I didn't do well on that part in English.
We have one back to each head.
Is it the back of our heads? The backs of our heads? I don't know. We don't need to be online together. Oh boy. It's interesting that you say about showing up for people. It's like speaking the language that they're currently speaking and helping them have a small shift with that. And then for me, once they're sort of understanding and they get that sort of glimmer of like, yeah, wow, then they're sort of primed and ready for me to say, here's something else I can teach you, or here's something that may seem unrelated, but what I found, and then I can just drop down, you know.
Yes.
But it's very interesting. What's coming up for me right now is a friend of mine. She suffers with depression, and you know, she'll talk about it and she's hiding. She'll disappear and not speak for a while, not really show up to events. And you can't really tell when she's not showing up because something's going on, or if she's not showing up because of you know, her, you know, is it a result of her hiding? And so I don't coach my friends. I don't like say, hey, let me coach you or anything like that. I love my friends and our relationship is important. So I talked to her and she mentioned it again about her depression. So it was the first time that I turned coach on her in the conversation, and I wasn't trying to fix her. I was just genuinely curious. And I said, you know, what does your depression say to you? What is it saying? You know? And so we had that conversation, and she was mentioning that she should have better credit and that she should have a home and she should be doing certain things by now. And I just, like I said, this time I turned off the friend listening, blah, 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 blah. And I was very serious about what I felt like I could help her with because I cared. And I said, you know, I'm hearing you use a lot of language that's going to keep you sitting in that same position. And I said, I know this might sound weird, but the more you say I should, the more you're telling yourself I am bad. And the more you're continuing to punish yourself so that you can be a good person, because, you know, you feel like a bad person. So you punish yourself to do your time, but you have to be the one to say, I am good. Like there's nobody else is going to say, okay, you're released today. You know what I'm saying? Inmate number 3204, you're released. That's not ever going to happen. And so we're to release ourselves. And so we talked about that should language and then compared it to the by this age.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, very small percentage of people are going to say, I'm doing what I should be by this age, you know, because we're always setting the bar higher for wherever we are. And, you know, I asked her, I said, credit wise, are you depressed about mistakes that you have made or that you are making? And she said, well, had made. Right. Had made. Like, I'm not currently doing anything except for building myself from this position, but I'm punishing myself for having not done this sooner. And so we talked, and I did like a mini little guilt and shame on her, but I was very careful to let her, you know, it wasn't, I didn't get permission to coach or clear, and I intentionally didn't. There's some people actually don't want to be their coach. Like, I'd rather refer them, you know? But I found that interesting. And it's, again, like you say, meeting them where they are. I'm not dealing with financial coaching in any way. I'm not dealing with a lot of those things, but it was interesting to me at that moment. She had an aha moment, and she started to, you know what, when we correct ourselves in a conversation, I chose to, like, she started to correct herself, and I just felt like a little flower open up, you know, like,
awesome.
So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know what kind of coach I am. I am a whatever is in the moment coach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I like to go back to what you were saying before, you can start with what they're asking for and what they need. And once you coach them through whatever situation that first time, and you do say, well, let me show you what else I can do or what else I can offer, they're willing to listen now because they already know that you care about them and that you're not just out to make a buck. You really you want to say, see, this is what I can do for you.
And they found a small value in the conversation already. So now it's not a stretch of the imagination. It's different when you come to us, can I coach you? Can I help you clear this? And they're like, no. It's kind of, no, I don't want to talk about that. You know, like, it's like, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to experiment right now. And I don't, and again, like we're talking about, I don't believe in this. Or I had someone tell me not too long ago, about 2 weeks, I am in the sea drowning and struggling to get to shore. And now I'm to believe that man can give me something that I was told that only God can help me get. This is what the person literally said in reference to coaching. I was not trying to coach them. I was suggesting that they seek a coach, and I wasn't presenting myself as a coach. depression, grief, anxiety, a lot of different things they're dealing with. And I'm like, so I was like, so in your mind, someone saying you should seek a coach is like telling you to go the opposite way than the shore. Like in your mind, it's the wrong direction, right? It's away from what you're looking for. And they're like, yes, exactly. I mean, like, I'm doing everything I can. I don't have time to stop and do something else, they're saying. So I'm drowning. And if I stop at 1 second to go in another direction, that is my demise. And it was interesting because I'd never heard anybody express a fear of coaching or anything ever, honestly, not in that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was interested. I wasn't trying to convince them, but I said, so, you know, in your religion, is it possible that God works through the experiences or the situations of other people to sort of give you that help? Or is your help mean that you have to do it all alone in order for it to have been God? Like you can't, like nobody can throw you a rope, or if the Coast Guard pulls up behind you 2 yards or, you know, 10 yards, is your faith in God mean you still continue swimming towards the shore? And I'm just asking. And they just were like, wow. You know, they were just like, wow.
Yeah.
And this is something they already know. Like every answer is stuff you already know. It's just you're not applying it at the moment that it should be applied.
Yeah. The question that popped up in my head was, is it possible that God is handing you a coach
right
to help give you some floaties, you know, so you're not drowning? But yeah, I've never seen it that way. So it's interesting how different people, what's the word? Take in, oh my gosh, what's the word? Mommy brain. Interpret.
There we go.
Interpret. I did it, Mom.
You go, baby. Yes. How we interpret. I find it just fascinating the stories we make up to empower our resistance. That's what I find fascinating. The stories that we will make up to sort of empower our resistance. Like, I'm not going to do it because this, or I'm not because, and then once we are really just have to verbalize it, because nobody really ever questions our why, right? I'm not going to swim because I'm going to drown. I mean, like, let's ask the question, or I'm not going to do this because I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do this because that's going to fail. And only until we approach people who really have been through this process, whether they're trained coaches or they have been coached by a trained coach and now they think this way, or whatever, that we sit with people who take the time to ask us that next level question, and then that next level question, to where we have to hear what we're really saying out loud.
Yeah.
We're thinking, but we don't get to hear it not make sense out of our mouth. Like, wait a minute.
I like that. We're thinking, but we're not. What did you say? We're thinking, but we're not.
We don't get to hear it like out of our mouth so that we can hear how much it doesn't make sense. Like inside, it all makes sense. Because duh. And then outside of our mouth, it's like, wait, no. And we'll try to empower it with words then, but it just weakens. Like the more we speak it, any of our resistances, like the logic flaw becomes more apparent once we are trying to explain it and have someone interested in helping us to kind of question it.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting experience the other day.
Tell me about it.
I coached my 8-year-old son. I didn't tell him I was coaching him, but he was suspended from the bus for fighting. And I'm going to try to summarize the story without getting too detailed for the specific purpose that I'm encouraging everybody to coach like an 8-year-old. Like, oh my gosh. And the reason why, see, I care about my son. I didn't intend to charge him. This was not a free, I don't intend to charge him, but if he has money, I'll take it. I have a cash app. I didn't, I went into this because I was genuinely curious and I needed to find a way to help him. So he got into trouble for fighting somebody who didn't fight back. And he had been the subject of bullying and not hitting back. He had been the subject of bullying and fighting back, but not getting in trouble because it was always obvious that he was being picked on. And now he fought someone who never swung back. in a situation where he's 100% sure that it's videotaped, 100% sure that he's going to get in trouble. And this is like mind boggling to me. And just honestly, like some other word. I don't want to use the word sad, but like certainly something along those lines of sad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on with him? So I sit him down and we have a talk, and I was pretty upset with him and I let him know it. And so we had a talk, and I asked him, I said, you know, you like to do advanced math. You like to, he learns, he's 8 and he can tell you all the squares and square roots from like 1 to 13 or 14 or whatever. And
Wow.
he's working on cubed now. He really likes to figure them out and memorize math. And he knows the order of operations, so he can do like, he's not doing algebra with letters yet, but he can do, you know, complex multiple function problems. So he's really, I was talking to him about that. And I said, you know how you like to do that? You like to be able to operate like a 15-year-old, or you want to try to get to high school math really fast. I said, there's a thing called emotions. And I want to try to help you also learn how to function with some advanced emotions. And I was like, and don't be upset if you don't get this, because I know adults that don't get this, right? And I'm like, and if you need to stop at any time, just tell me. But I just want to see if I can help you operate in a little bit more of a mature way emotionally, right? And he says, okay. So I have him shut his eyes, and I have him, like, I VAK the emotion of how he felt about surrounding, like before, you know, what was his overall feeling of this fight he had. And it was so interesting, the answers that came out of him. I'm going to go ahead and share the answers, but his on this part, his answers, which really shocked me because I don't hear adults talk like this. He said that, yes, I can feel it. It's in my foot. It's moving around. I'm asking him the questions, and these are the answers he's giving me. It's a green parallelogram, like a parallelogram of all things.
Yeah.
And
like
it
shape.
weighs very heavy, like 65 elephants. And
wow.
yeah. And I said, anything else significant about this? And he said, no. And I said, if that, you know, green parallelogram could speak to you, what would it say? And then he said, it would say, maybe you should go back and find some of that boy's friends and find out where he lives and go apologize. So that's his feeling of regret, I guess, like his overall surrounding.
Yeah.
So he didn't speak to the anger, right, that made him do it or anything. His overall like takeaway from this was like, I should apologize, right? And I found that interesting. And I said, anything else about this feeling again? And he says, yes, it makes it very hard. Like the whole way home after the fight, I couldn't even walk home. It took forever, he says, right? And the truth is, he got home in the exact same time. He always gets home because I was there waiting on him. He walks home from the bus. So I said, oh, wow. So this feeling in his foot is slowing him down. It's like dragging him down. Well, anyway, we go back to the past, to the first moments he felt this. And interestingly enough, it wasn't the first moment, but one of the earliest moments he had was in private school when he wasn't fighting people back. And some boy was hitting him and fighting him, and he wanted to hit the boy back. But he felt that same green feeling in his foot and thought, I shouldn't do this because I'll get in trouble. And also it might hurt his feelings, the boy who's beating him up. Right.
Yeah.
So it's still more of a I shouldn't do this, apologetic sort of consequence type of, you know what I mean, a regret type of feeling. And he said, and I just kept feeling that feeling, and I was hearing your voice, this is mommy, saying, if someone hits you, hit them back. So in this scenario, I'm telling him he needs to know when not to hit people. But in that other scenario, you know, the older one, it's me convincing him to hit people. And the boy had hit him, but I was trying to explain to him that he wasn't defending himself if the hit was over with and the boy wasn't coming after him. Like, it's a little different than being actively hit in my mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, this is a lot for me to be explaining to a kid. So now I'm checking myself as he's in his, you know, he's still in his, you know, eyes closed and his VAK. And he goes back even further to another moment. And then we move forward to his, you know, current self, and he gives some great advice. And then I asked him about his 18-year-old self, and he has an image for his life, what he's going to be doing for money. He wants to help homeless people. Like, he's going to use the excess money that he's not investing or saving, his words, to feed homeless people on a monthly basis or something like that, I guess, to make sure that they have some things to help make life easier. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, so what would 18-year-old you say to the current you about this fighting problem? And he said, violence is not the answer. And I said, well, what would you say to him? And he said, well, what is the answer? So it literally was so interesting.
Wow.
And it was the first time that I've been coaching that I wasn't trying to evaluate myself as a coach. Like, I care when I coach people, but I also am evaluating.
Like, am I doing okay? Am I doing okay? Am I doing okay? Am I doing it right? How are you feeling?
Exactly. And this time I was only there to serve. Like, I needed him to find answers that I don't know how to give him at his age.
Yeah. That's really profound for an 8-year-old. I kept forgetting you were talking about an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
That's really, like, your heart must be smiling so big right now because
it was a transfer for me. It was a big shift for me because I do care and I do want to help people, but I've also been approaching this like practice. Like, let me practice this. And this was the time where it wasn't practice. It was, this is the thing.
Coaching.
Like, this is, yes, it was a different feeling. He gave himself advice. I said, well, what would 18-year-old Zayden do if people were telling him while he's making his money, doing his job, and he's helping homeless people, and someone wants to cuss and fight or, hit him? What would he do? And he said, I don't know, just like do some work, complete some work or something, or just like focus on like a game. He said, pull his phone out of his pocket and play a game, he said. And I was like, well, you don't have a phone on the bus, but so what would what would future Zayden tell you to do? When the next time someone tries to distract you with bad words or, fight you or hit you, what are you going to do? And he said, I don't know. I don't really have a phone and I can't really talk to someone else because I'm on punishment, because his punishment is not to talk to people for 5 days on the bus so that he can learn. He doesn't have to engage, it's just a part of his punishment because he was suspended from the bus for 5 days. So the next 5 days he's on the bus, he's to demonstrate not needing to participate, to sort of meter it. So anyway, he goes, well, I can't talk to people, but I would just do some work or something, like maybe just read my book so I don't have to listen to them. And so these are things that I would have told him, but now and I loved it because it was confirming, even an 8-year-old can come up with their answers. So I don't have to worry about leading adults to their answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was scared, and I did give him all the controls. That I wasn't doing it because I practiced that way. When I was like, if you don't get it, if you need to stop, it's okay. I've never prepped the client like that,
Yeah. And we totally could.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just felt so empowered. What I got out of it was this. I used to be scared when I sold life insurance because it's something Sean mentioned today on our call about if you have a financial issue, you project that onto them and you bring it into the conversation. So I would do that when I was younger. I needed money. I was broke as hell. And if I went into someone's house and they made $30 an hour, I was pitching them $120 a month for life insurance. And I just met them. And so I had to get over it. And one day I did a sales presentation to a friend of mine and her parent. And I didn't want to sell them. I just wanted to show them what I had and if they needed it for them to take it. It wasn't like, I want you to buy because I'm a good salesperson. It was, let me show you what I'm doing. I think it's helpful. And all I want to do is make sure that they understood. Like, that was my goal versus make sure that I walked out with a check, because it just was different. And after that, and they make so much money. And so after that, my confidence with my other people was different. Like, I approached everyone and just literally imagined that they were her. I just gave them that same courtesy. And I feel like that coaching exercise, I haven't coached anybody since I had that conversation with my son, but I feel like that was the moment that changed something in me as far as how I approach my clients. I used to have a little bit of a fear, and now I have like another experience to help me just be like, there's really nothing but like positive intention and help,
Yeah. So was this the first time that you were coaching somebody and you were actually the one that had the breakthrough?
Oh, no.
No?
That's one of the big, no, it's not. I'm going to probably say, like, every time I coach somebody, I have a breakthrough.
Do you know what? That's exactly what Elena said. Because I asked her that question. She's like, every single time. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to say every time.
By the way,
And I really
listeners,
hate to compare it, but it's kind of like sex. If it was good, you should both come away with something.
hell
If
yeah.
you were both in it, if you were both really in it together, there should be a mutual satisfaction, a learning, a revelation, a movement, a something as far as coaching. Because it's just a new way of seeing or hearing the same thing. Like most of our problems are very similar. I want to be a good parent. I'm scared to fail at this. I'm scared to do that. But how we talk to ourselves about it, how we've, like I said, wrapped up our resistance in some pretty package that seems real, right? And how what we get out of unwrapping that package, like dismantling it and taking it apart. Like what I think is the main thing they would take away usually isn't what they take away. Like I always ask, what's the biggest insight or what's the biggest thing that you've gotten out of this? And I'm always surprised, and I always write it down. I tend to write down their VAK and relate it to what problem they were having and then what their biggest insight was. Like if I take any notes, that's what I usually write. I don't know why.
Explain to our listener, I know the answer, but can you explain to our listener what VAK means?
Cool.
So the first time I heard that, I was like, what the L? Sorry.
VAK is the name that it means visual, audio, kinesthetic. And what happens is when people are experiencing a problem or a challenge or a feeling, I'm going to use the word feeling, they usually say, I'm feeling mad because this guy did this. And they talk about this guy hit my car and I didn't have any money and and then they want you to solve that problem. And so VAK is a way to get them to find where this lives in their body. So we'll literally ask them, like, focus on that feeling of being pissed that your car got hit. Where do you feel this in your body? And we'll ask them to describe it. What does it look like, right? Does it have colors? What kind of shapes? Audio, does it sound like anything? Does it say anything? In kinesthetic, what does it feel like? What does it do? Does it move? So we ask those questions. And when people really want to clear an energy, they can tap into that really fast.
Yeah.
They can tap into it. I'm starting to find a chain of similarities between the type of problems and where that shows up in the body. For example, like if I VAK you and you have this type of emotion, usually the colors, the shapes, the textures, and the location in the body is similar. I'll give you one of my own. I had somebody coaching me. It was just peer practice coaching. I wasn't expecting to get a breakthrough. I was like, let me think of a problem to help me solve it. Right. And then I tapped into something that I really like. The person just was like, okay, I'm going to make her really go inside. So they really got me into breathing and feeling this problem. And what I felt was like in my shoulders and the back of my neck, sort of right outside of my body, but still underneath my skin. And it was like, shoulder and neck, sort of top neck area, and a little bit like, yeah, right there. And VAK'd, and it felt like, I think it felt like metal, or something like that. It was pretty heavy. And later, once I cleared that emotion, once they helped me move through the thoughts, move through the feelings, and find it in myself where I first picked up that emotion, and kind of try to find another, I don't want to give away all the juice, but to transfer that feeling into something else, I felt a rod in my lower spine. It was a straight up and down rod sort of in my lower spine when I was feeling a better feeling. And the feelings that connected to was confidence. I was hanging my confidence on if somebody else was going to do something, if it was going to be successful, if I was going to be accepted. And the funny thing is, it felt like a hanger in my body. Like it literally felt like if I was to hang myself up, like if you put a clothes hanger in your jacket and hung yourself up in the closet, like the feeling I described to them was similar to that. And I didn't expect that. I wasn't like guiding that. And later, the feeling I had once I had decided on my confidence and summoned the feeling of truth about where my confidence needed to come from and my odds of success and all that stuff, it was a rod, which is, if you stick a pole in the ground, it's more sturdy than if you stuck a pole, like if you stuck me in the ground like a scarecrow, I'm more sturdy in that way than I am if you hang me up by like a coat hanger, right? Like I could flip. And so I just thought it was interesting that I'm finding so much symbolism. That's why I write down the VAK, I guess, and what people are feeling and just symbolically what that even means. And nobody's really aware of this when they're talking about it. Like not even me, as many times as I've had someone VAK me. So VAK is a powerful tool we use in coaching to help people stop focusing on the individual details and scruples of the problem and start to focus on the feeling and what that feeling represents, the deeper thing that feeling represents for them and how to shift it. And we don't know how to shift it. They know how to shift it, and we guide them to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The answers are always inside the person you're coaching.
Right. And so, yeah, I think it's a great tool. Yeah, I didn't know what it meant either. I think the first whole class I was in, like the first whole 2 days when I was hearing this, I was like, what is that again? Blah, blah, blah.
Can you VA what now?
Yeah. VAK that. I'm like, what? Vacuum it?
Like
we should call it vacuum. Yeah. Vacuum that?
You vacuum?
I need another vacuum bag, please. No, yeah. It's a great tool, though. And it's so simple because once we practice and we learn what we're doing as coaches, we don't even need those exercises. Like I used to hang on them like, oh, I need to know it and I need to get it right and I need to understand. First you do this, then you do that. And sort of, like I said, in that confidence thing, hanging on to what it needed to be. And the more I do this, the more I realize that it's so fluid. I understand why they say if you care and you're practicing the work anyway, there's no wrong way to go about it. The wrong way is for the client to say, I feel 20 times worse than I've ever felt. And that usually, I mean,
which I don't think has ever happened.
It's never happened to me.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of it happening to anybody, so.
Oh, that was awesome.
Thanks.
So I think this is a good place to end it, but I do want to ask you one question that I ask everybody at the end of each conversation I have. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
Oh, it's to challenge what you think the rules are. I think we imagine limitations are actual physical rules. And those stop us from doing the next thing. Like, in order to be the president, you'd have to go through all this emotional training and you'd have to go through this amount of background checks and da-da-da-da-da. And apparently not. I'm not trying to be funny, but somebody challenged the notion and voila. I just think that we imagine that the things we want require so much more. And we say, okay, I'm going to follow this long stair-step to-do list, ladder, maze, labyrinth to get there. And I think sometimes the rules are, just bulldoze through, just bust a hole through the wall to get to the finish line, you know? So challenge what you think the rules are. Is it really the rule? Who says it's the rule? And is it time for the rule to change if it is a rule? I mean, challenge it in every way that you can. And I think that's a start.
I love it. I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tanisha Renee Bouchelion signing off. Until next time.